Welcome back to ArcViz with Blender and Stable Diffusion. This is going to be our final lesson. So in this lesson, we are going to summarize and review many of the concepts and terms that we used throughout the course. So for that, I have like a guideline here. Also, we will be checking very quickly some of the articles I based my course on, and they will be shared in my file links. And I will be having WebUI Forge running in one of the tabs in the browser in case we need to review any terms. So let's begin with the guidelines. And in the end, what is Stable Diffusion? So basically, Stable Diffusion is a generative artificial intelligence or generative AI model that produces unique photorealistic images from text and image prompts. Originally launched in 2022. And besides images, you can also use the model to create videos and animations. They're not covered in the course, only the one we generated in Blender. Stable Diffusion is a series of open source models that have been made publicly available by Stability AI. These open source models are available for anyone to use and build upon in general, or the models are free to download and for personal use. So if you check the first article, it will offer us a very good insight of what Stable Diffusion is and how it works, the importance of Stable Diffusion, and also why does it matter to companies. And I'm sure the next question we all got is, can Stable Diffusion models be used for commercial use? And here it says it depends. So the original Stable Diffusion model, commonly referred to as Stable Diffusion 1.5 or SD 1.5, was released in August 2022 under the CreativeML OpenRail license. This allows both commercial and non-commercial use. So this means you can freely use the model to generate images for your projects, products, or services without worrying about legal repercussions. That is true for Stable Diffusion 1.5 models, but remember that besides that, we have the different checkpoints. Many of these checkpoints are trained on the Stable Diffusion base model. So you also have to take into account whenever you download a model, make sure to read the information about it because some of them might not be free for commercial use. And that will be expressed here in the model information. So always make sure to review the terms of any other checkpoints you download. But the original Stable Diffusion 1.5 model is allowed for commercial use. In addition to SD 1.5, Stable Diffusion 2.1 and Stable Diffusion XL or SDXL also fall under the CreativeML OpenRail license, allowing the same freedom for commercial use. And that's good news because we saw the difference between the two models, SD 1.5 being trained on images 512 pixels and SDXL in 1024, offering more quality and also requiring simpler prompts and everything. So these two licenses are very good for commercial use, but like 2 days ago, Stable Diffusion launched version 3 of their model, released it to the public, and they call it the most sophisticated image generation model to date. This caused quite a stir in the community because we were all excited and waiting for this model to come out. But the bad news is the licensing model. Very quickly, it says the weights are now available under an open non-commercial license and a low-cost creator license. For large-scale commercial use, please contact us for licensing details. To try Stable Diffusion 3 models, try using the API and and sign up for the 3-day trial on Stable Assistant, blah, 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 blah. So basically now the community, if you check YouTube and forums and Reddit and all of the sites around, everyone is complaining about Stable Diffusion 3 licensing scheme. And many of the people who trained the models based on Stable Diffusion 1.5 and Stable Diffusion XL that also released them for free already mentioned that they are not interested in training any model based on Stable Diffusion 3. That's a way like to put some pressure on Stability AI, which are the creators of Stable Diffusion, for them to change the licensing terms of their new model. Besides Stable Diffusion 3, the more recent models, SDXL Turbo and Stable Cascade, have different licensing terms. So always remember to check the licensing terms of any model that you download. Now let's do a quick review of the different terms we learned and used in the course. Here in my guideline, I have like a summary of the terms we use the most. CFG scale, it's the guidance or how much we want the image to follow the input text or the phrases we are providing. Steps or the sampling steps is how many steps we want the image to take to get to the final quality. So remember, the more steps you use, the longer it will take to render. Seed is the noise pattern that it uses. And we used it a lot throughout the course with the random option. So remember to use a fixed seed whenever you want to have consistency between your images. Checkpoints, also called models, are pre-trained models that learn from image sources. That's why other people can use a Stable Diffusion 1.5 model as base and train their own model upon it with different sets of images. And that is what we see in Civit AI. Always remember to check the model's terms. But mostly, if they're based on SD 1.5 or SDXL, they should be free and allowed for commercial use. LoRa. Okay, so LoRa is something that we didn't use in the course and we didn't require to use it. So LoRa is a technique that allows us to fine-tune large models like Stable Diffusion without the need to retrain them entirely. So I'm going to put it like simpler. If you check this one here, it says Detail Tweaker LoRa. So I'm going to open it in a new tab. So in the information you can see it says type LoRa and the base model is the 1.5. LoRa is an additional file that complements your checkpoint and specializes on enhancing a specific part of the image. So for instance, in this case, Detail Tweaker will add more details to the image you're going to generate. So if we open this image, here we can see the LoRa value set to 1. This is the normal render without any LoRa's, and this is with -1. So if you check the first version, you will see it has a lot more definition and details inside of it. There are many LoRa's available, and you will find them for anything you require. For instance, I'm going to look for here in the search bar, Jinx. So for instance, this LoRa is very compatible with any cartoon checkpoint. And what it does is if you're rendering an image of a woman like this one, and you add this LoRa, it will complement the image and make it look like Jinx from League of Legends. How do we use LoRa's? So basically you download them and you place them in your WebUI models LoRa folder. And when you are generating your image, you go here to your LoRa's. They should appear here, and you simply double click them, and they will be added to your prompt. Okay, so the next term, VAE, Variational Autoencoder, is a technique used to improve the quality of AI-generated images. To make it simpler, to me, what they enhance is the color of the image. So sometimes when you download a checkpoint, it will say it requires a specific VAE file. So if the model requires it, you simply download it and place it into your model's VAE folder. Clip skip is a technique that plays a crucial role in Stable Diffusion algorithms, especially in the image generation process. So it allows the skipping of certain pixels or blocks during the compression process, resulting in faster and more efficient compression. So it removes some bits every now and then and creates some compression, and the image renders out faster and it's going to be a lot lighter. Clip skips are not always required. Usually models have to be trained to use clip skip, and it will be specified in the model information as well, and it will say what value of clip skip you require. And from the control nets, MLSD, mobile line segment detection, is a straight line detector. It is useful for extracting outlines with straight edges like interior designs, and curves will be ignored. So MLSD is one of the control net models that we used in the course, and it's very efficient for architecture renders if they have straight lines, no curves. So now let's begin the process to move out our ComfyUI installation. So I'm going to close my Stable Diffusion WebUI Forge, and I'm going to launch Krita. Okay, so here we have the welcome page, and I'm going to check the installation folder, AI Diffusion. This is the ComfyUI that Krita installed for us. So if you go into the folder, you will notice we don't have any way to launch it. I mean, it doesn't have a bat file to launch it. We could try like going into ComfyUI, opening the command prompt, and trying to launch it the same way we do in Windows, Python main.py, but you will get an error. That is because this installation, it's totally geared and custom to be used with Krita. It only downloads and uses the things that Krita requires to do the rendering process from within Krita. What this means is that we cannot use this installation as we use the other ComfyUI installation. So if I click on File, New, and I'm going to create a 1024 by 1024 image and click on Create, you will notice that Krita launches its own ComfyUI version from within the program. That means that somehow one of the scripts that initializes the software has the specific instruction to launch that ComfyUI without the need of some libraries. For everyday usage, that ComfyUI version is no good for us. So now we are going to modify the settings and have Krita use our local installation instead. So to start that process, click on the cogwheels icon here to the right and move to the connection section. And as you can see, it is now running and everything is in green, all the components that it installed. So let's begin by stopping the server. And here it will say server stopped. And now we're going to launch our version of ComfyUI. So let's go to our ComfyUI installation, ComfyUI Windows Portable, and run NVIDIA GPU bat file. Okay, so once we have ComfyUI running in our browser, let's go back to Krita. And from the connection options, now we're going to select custom server, local or remote. And here is the address it uses to connect to our installation. So I'm going to click on connect. And we will get several errors here. That is because our installation has some files we have already downloaded, but we still haven't downloaded the ones that Krita requires. So I'm going to do a screenshot of this so we can read. So basically here we can read, it says it requires the IP adapter, which is ComfyUI IP Adapter Plus, external tooling nodes called ComfyUI tooling nodes, and in-paint nodes, ComfyUI in-paint nodes. We can install those via the ComfyUI manager, but remember that besides installing the custom nodes, it will require some additional files, and they are already downloaded into our Krita ComfyUI installation. So let's begin by copying the folders in our ComfyUI Krita installation, and we will place them into our ComfyUI installation. So I'm going to save a copy of this screenshot and leave it here, and I'm going to close Krita. And also I'm going to stop the ComfyUI server we got running here, Control-C, yes, to terminate. And I'm going to open two file manager windows, one to the left and the other one to the right. On the left, I'm going to have my AI Diffusion Comfy UI installation. And on the right, I'm going to have my Comfy UI Windows Portable version Comfy UI folder. So we will be copying things from the left installation to the one on the right. So let's begin. First, we need to copy the information in Models Clip Vision. So this file here, click on copy, and here go to Models Clip Vision. You can see we don't have it here. And it's quite a large file. It's one of the files that Krita downloaded for us. Now go back and go back. Now we're going to copy the upscale models. So go to upscale models, or you can select everything, Control C, and here go to upscale models as well, and click on paste. And go back again. Now the next files we need to copy are the ControlNet files. So open up ControlNet, select all of these files. Don't select the one that says put ControlNets here, Control C. And remember that in Comfy UI, we modified our XAMPP model paths here to read the ControlNets from within Stable Diffusion. So we're going to copy them in Stable Diffusion, and our installation of Comfy UI will still read them from there. So here in Forge, Web UI, Models, ControlNet, copy and paste them here. And we had already copied them in a previous lesson in order to use the SDXL models in ControlNet. Okay, so go back. And on the right, remember to go back to your Comfy UI models folder. The next files we need to copy this folder, the one that says InPaint, from Comfy UI models into Comfy UI models. And as you can see, we don't have it in our local installation. So here we're going to copy the folder completely. Click on copy and paste. And now we need to copy another folder that we don't have available here, and it's the IP adapter. So right click on IP adapter, copy and paste here on the right. Okay, now let's double check our checkpoints. Our checkpoints were already copied in a previous lesson into WebUI Forge, and we are reading them successfully with the extra model paths file here. So here we have checkpoints, WebUI Forge, model, Stable Diffusion. So no need to copy that, but just in case you want to make sure, go to your AI WebUI Forge installation, WebUI, models, and Stable Diffusion folder, and they are here. So go back to your Comfy UI Windows Portable, Comfy UI, models, and here I'm going to go back to my models folder. Okay, now we're going to check on the LoRa's folder, and as you can see here on the left, Krita installed several LoRa's. So we're going to select all of them. Don't select the put LoRa's here because we already have it. And right click, copy and paste them into your LoRa's folder in Comfy UI Windows Portable. Go back and go back. And finally, go to your embeddings folder and copy this one, EC Negative. Copy, go to embeddings and paste. So those should be the files that Krita downloaded locally into its own installation. Now we have all of them in our installation. Now in the next step, we need to launch our version of Comfy UI. So go to Comfy UI Windows Portable, and click on Run NVIDIA GPU. And let's check our screenshot again. And now we can look for the missing custom nodes that we require. So open up your manager and select Custom Nodes Manager. And in the search bar, look for IP adapter here. IP adapter. And we are going to install this one, Comfy IP Adapter Plus, that matches the description here. So select it and click on install. And now it's installed. Don't restart or close anything yet. We're going to install the other two that we require. The next one is called tooling nodes or Comfy UI tooling nodes. So here look for tooling. And here we have it, Comfy UI nodes for external tooling. Select and install. And the last one is InPaint nodes. So look for InPaint. And here we have Comfy UI InPaint node, so select it. And also check the author. The author says ACLY, and if you check here, it also says ACLY. So now select and click on install. Very good. So now we can click on restart, click on OK, and then click on close. And we're going to close Comfy UI completely. Control C, Control C. And launch it again so that everything sets down into our installation. And now the good thing is that we already copied all of the required files from Krita into this installation. So we don't need to download any additional models. So click on Run NVIDIA GPU again. And since we just installed 3 new custom nodes, it might require some additional files. So it will download them in this step. Okay, very good. So now we got Comfy UI running. Let's go back and now we can launch Krita. Let's create a new file, 1024 by 1024, and click on create. And now as you can see, we don't have any errors. So if I click on the cogwheels icon and I go to connection, you will see that we are using our custom server, local or remote. It's using this port and it says connected and it's not reporting errors. So now we have a version of Comfy UI that is compatible with Krita and that we can also launch individually whenever we need to use it like that. So let me close this again, and I'm going to close Comfy UI as well. Control C, stop the server, close it from the browser. And this is one of the best steps in all of the course because we're going to recover a lot of hard drive space. So go to AI, select your AI Diffusion folder, right click and click on properties. So here you can see this installation was 35.6 gigabytes. So click on OK. And now let's select this folder and shift delete to delete it permanently. And we will be saving a lot of space. Okay, very good. So that's like 35 gigabytes of hard drive that we can use to download checkpoints. Okay, so now, as I promised in the beginning of the course, we now got only 2 Stable Diffusion installations of 2 different interfaces. One is Forge, and the other one is Comfy UI with its node system. Now, the difference is that when you launch Krita, it's not going to launch the server automatically like it did previously. So now before launching Krita, make sure to launch Comfy UI. So click on Run NVIDIA GPU. And once it's running, click on Krita to open it. I'm going to open one of our course images like this one. And you can see the server here is up and running. You can still select your different checkpoints from here. So let's run a quick test to see if everything is running properly. Select cinematic photo and click on the plus. And from the available control net, select depth and type your prompt in. So by now, I think we already know what we're going to be typing. Modern farmhouse in the woods by a lake, comma, blue sky, and click on generate. Now you can click on your command window and you can see the progress image happening here in the background. And here we are. So I'm going to save this image as well. And I'm going to place it here, my first render 004, my first render 05. I don't know, but somehow the Krita toolset is like very well optimized. And the results you get also from this workflow are amazing. Follow the prompt very nicely. And if you notice, we are not touching any of that information. So I presume that the presets that the plugin has for the Krita installation are very well optimized and designed. And the other good thing here is that since it's using Comfy UI, which is a very light installation, you get render output very, very quickly. So let's change to our Excel model and check for any differences. Click on Generate. Okay, so here in the lower part, we have our second image generated. I'm going to File and Save As my first render 05. I can't emphasize enough how well it sticks to the prompt, because here we have the lake, here we have the blue sky, we have the modern cabin, and it's very, very well defined. And I told you that I was going to show you something very, very quickly. It's another way we can have fun with Krita. So I'm going to click on New File, 1024 by 1024. Resolution 300, and click on Create. I think this is what the Krita plugin was mainly designed for. Not the architectural part, but the digital painting part. So now let's select comic and anime. And from this dropdown, we are going to select live. After selecting live, we are going to type in a prompt. So I'm going to write a cute cat sitting, mountains in the background, blue sky. And now we're going to click on the play button to start the live preview. Once you click on the play button, we can start drawing in our empty canvas, and the magic is going to happen. So I'm not a digital painter at all. I am more an architect. I am more of straight lines and stuff. So if you leave it there, it will start like creating something for us. You will see the preview here. And the idea is like to work on a layered order. So if I have a cute cat sitting with mountains in the background and a blue sky, let's start from the background and come all the way up to the foreground. So first, let's paint a blue sky. I'm going to do it with my mouse. For those who have a drawing tablet, this is going to be fun. So you can right click here in the air and you can select the color you want for the sky and right click again. And here you will have the brush size, which is this. And this is the brush opacity. So I'm going to set opacity like around 40% and the size big, and with middle mouse wheel, you scroll in and out, and I'm going to start drawing my sky like this. So now I have the sky. And the next element I need to draw before drawing my cat and check the preview are my mountains. So for the mountains, I'm going to right click and do something like dark green like this. Right click again. You can change the size to try like to get some mountains here. And you can change the opacity, like to try to define them some more. These are very abstract mountains, but remember we are using the comic and anime checkpoint. And now if you want to start like integrating the information you got in your preview, you can click on the check icon next to the red record button to copy the current result to an active layer. So click on that, and now we got this. So now let's begin drawing our cute cat. And the cute cat is going to be like gray. So I'm going to select something gray here. And this is going to be my cat. More solid. I'm going to change the size of my brush. So let's do like a tail here. And check what it's doing. It's like doing like its own Miyazaki interpretation of my artsy drawing. And I'm going to right click and change the color. Let's make it dark blue. And change the brush size again, zoom in, and I'm going to do one eye and another eye. and a cute nose and some whiskers. There we go. Now click on your add to layer again, and this is what we got. So imagine the possibilities of this. So I'm going to click on file and save as, and I'm going to create a new folder in renders and call it illustration or illustrations cat 1. You can save it as a Krita file, or you can save it directly as a PNG. If you save it as a Krita file, you will have all of your layers information and the brushes that you use and everything. That's useful if you want to learn from the images you create. Click on cat. Also, since this is active all the time, if you change your checkpoint to cinematic photo and wait for it to regenerate like the prompt, there we go. It's keeping the background in illustration mode, but now the main focus of the prompt, that is the cat, changed to this. Click on this icon again, and now check this out. So this is something that you can spend hours and hours and hours with and let your imagination flow and go like crazy. So I can't imagine what digital painting artists can do with this. So you can keep adding and adding elements. You can change the prompt in real time, and you can keep adding layers on top, on top, on top until you have the illustration you are dreaming of. When you're done, you click on the pause button and the running process will stop. I'm going to close this. And that's the kind of experimentation I was doing around here. For instance, here, let me see. So this is what I started with. Then it became this, and it ended up like this. Another one, let's see. This one is very interesting because I started with a blank canvas like this, and then I just traced out like some splotches in different colors. And then little by little, the checkpoint started adding the additional information, and then I added it as a new layer, and I ended up with something like this. To me, what the plugin for Krita is doing is really mind-blowing. And I know that Adobe has got some tools that are amazing with AI work, but what Krita is achieving with this plugin and the use of Stable Diffusion is out of this world. Now to finish, I'm going to close ComfyUI, close the server. The last part I'm going to show you to go from one extreme to the other. We're going to launch WebUI Forge. So nice to have only 2 installations. Make sure that you're running WebUI Forge in API mode from your BAT file, and click on Run to start WebUI Forge. And once it's running, select Realistic Vision and your VAE and launch Blender. So I'm going to open up a file I got here in my projects. In Krita, by creating some basic color splashes and shapes, you can end up with a very nice image. In Blender, you can use some basic shapes, boxes and planes and basic colors for the materials, create a camera, and create an animation out of it. So now you're familiar with the AI render options. So let's check the prompt. The prompt is a little long. I'm going to paste it here. So this prompt goes something like this. A futuristic city in another planet with spaceships in the sky, nebula sky background, dramatic lighting, people walking down the paths with motion blur effect, sci-fi style digital painting. Maybe I am asking too much from the AI, so I'm going to use that prompt over here. But the interesting thing in this exercise is that by using very simple shapes, we're going to get a nice looking result in a minute. The negative prompt is the usual stuff. The preset styles, I'm using this look, which is from a specific artist called Vadim Kashin. And if you check here in the lower part, image similarity is down to 0.20. So it means it's going to render something not as close to the render reference. So let's see what comes out. Prompt strength is 7, 30 steps, and ControlNet is enabled. And I'm using Midas And here I'm also using DeathPass as the model. And finally, I'm going to run an upscale with this option enabled. So now before we render, and we already checked all of the settings over there, this is a vertical image and I'm using a very small file size, which is 512 by 960. But with the image upscaling, the final image size will be 1024 by 1920. Very good. So now we can click on F12 to render. When the render is done, Stable Diffusion kicks in and then the upscaling process. This is the result render, and as you can see, it's something very interesting. So I am convinced that for any 3D artist, this kind of toolset is also very, very powerful. And with this, I could run an animation like this one. So what if we increase the image similarity value and stick with a fixed seed to see if we can have like a more consistent animation? I'm going to try that result and see how it goes. But guys, we have finished the course and I'm very glad. I'm very glad to have you with me. This was a very interesting learning experience for me as well. And I tried to implement many months of work and experimentation as an architect. And it's all the result of my passion on using digital technologies. And ever since AI came out and became popular, I have been obsessed on how to use them to generate architectural images. So thank you once more for being with me, for having all the patience all along until the end of this course. And I hope to be capturing some new courses soon on 3D and many other topics that I'm interested to develop. So see you guys soon and have a lot of fun. Bye.